Hello and welcome to AM Prime here on WESN Content Capital. I'm Keaton Shaw. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. It's a bit of a damper, isn't it? It's dark, it's gloomy, but that's how it's going to be as the rainy season is here. The official rainy season. I know we were experiencing some heavy showers a couple of weeks ago, but some of us will be grateful, some of us will actually be very wary considering the events that transpire over the rainy season, especially with the heavy flooding, the loss of life, the loss of even one's livelihoods and homes. But I can only hope, as I've always said, I can only hope for positive. By the way, could anybody explain to me precisely what caused that traffic yesterday afternoon? Because from what I understand, from as early as 2 o'clock, the traffic build-up, leaving Port of Spain at least, was horrendous. Heading to San Fernando was appalling. I actually left Port of Spain at 5:30 to avoid traffic. I didn't end up getting home until 7:30. That's a drive that usually takes me about 30 minutes. It took me 2 hours. Quite ridiculous, if I may say so. But I had no clue, not one clue. That's precisely what caused the traffic. There were suggestions that there were 4 accidents, 3 to 4 accidents. I tried to verify that last night, couldn't get too much information on that, and this morning I haven't even checked for any further updates. So, I don't know. We live in a sweet TNT, but God, that traffic could be frustrating and stressful. Anyway, let me just give you a rundown of what you can expect from this edition of AM Prime. Our first guest is due to be Pastor Clive Doughton. He's a former temporary independent senator, and we're speaking to him over comments regarding the fact that he believes country leaders need to listen as the youth of Trinidad and Tobago are crying out for change. In fact, one quote from Pastor Clive Doughton is, "Many young people want a better way, they want to be shown a better way, they want their hearts to be transformed." And that, okay, I understand that, I accept that. You cannot label everybody as wanting just to cause harm or create havoc. However, it's young people in Trinidad and Tobago at the same time that are causing a lot of the crimes, let me not use the term causing, but they are the ones many a times behind the crime. When you often hear about people being arrested, whether it be for murder charges, whether it be for crimes of robbery, for home invasion, many a times you are shocked when you learn of their age. In fact, in some instances, you can't even hear their name, or the press can't print their name, simply because they're a juvenile, and obviously they're protected. But this is the thing. There's a new kind of criminal, a younger criminal element here in TNT, and that is part of the problem. Furthermore, we have a brain drain. So I'm not sure if people want to be transformed, if people are just now completely fed up and said, listen, it's hopeless entirely. Let me just leave it alone and get out of here and see how best I can actually work, or where I can work to try and get a better livelihood. That's all part of the problem, and we're hoping to have that conversation with Pastor Dawson if he joins us a bit later on. Then I would welcome my second guest, Dr. Darlene Harris. Did you know Trinidad and Tobago ranks 9th in the world for the prevalence of overweight babies, toddlers, and preschoolers? Now, the data, however, you take it with a pinch of salt, because even though this is in a World Health Organization report, 42 countries actually did not submit any data at all. Now, because of that, you really wonder where TNT's ranking is. But based off of the countries that did submit data, Trinidad and Tobago was ranked 9th in the world. I think roughly 13.2% of our juvenile population is considered overweight. And that is incredible. So we're going to get into that conversation later on when we speak about health and wellness here on AM Prime. And my final guest for this morning is in regard to the silence of the Tobago House of Assembly regarding a voice clip that's been circulating on social media since last week, Tuesday. It's alleged that the 2 voices heard in the clip as senior figures within the Tobago House of Assembly. The Chief Secretary, Farley Augustine, he hasn't said anything. And the other individual, who is alleged to be Zarisha Hackett, she also has not stated anything. No member of the THA has come forward. And this continued silence is just, it's loud. Put it that way. Silence is loud because we haven't stopped speaking about it. It's still on the minds of many. It's still probably the biggest talking point in Tobago right now. And, well, the THA is silent about it. So we'll welcome the chairman of the Tobago Civil Net, Mr. Rodney Piggott, from 7 o'clock this morning. We have a couple of regional updates as well to share with you later on, but we're going to take a quick break here on the program, and when we return, we'll continue this morning's edition of AM Prime.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Site, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Welcome back to AM Prime. So we'll be joined very shortly by Dr. Darlene Harris, but in the meantime, I'll share with you some regional updates. First, actually coming from Guyana. We don't have a video, but I thought I would let you know that the 20th victim in the Guyanese fire unfortunately passed away 1 week, succumbing to their injuries. They were in intensive care unit for quite some time. Unfortunately, they lost that battle, and well, it continues to just be a gut-wrenching story coming out of Guyana with respect to the Medea Secondary School fire and the girls' dormitory. But to get to the actual news updates coming from across the region, we go to Grenada, where the International Monetary Fund has advised the government of Grenada not to continue a tax amnesty program that it implemented on January 1st, 2023. The program is scheduled to conclude on December 31st, 2023, but the International Monetary Fund is advising to actually exit from now. Let's take a look at this report from Grenada.
And I'm running as an independent for constituency number 2. I'm also a member of the Alliance for Change, but I'm running as an independent for local government.
Why?
I think because of a rich history in Betafawaktin. You know, I grew up in Betafawaktin seeing a lot of things, and I went through a lot of things with my grandparents, and I saw a lot of things, and I know a lot about Betafawaktin and how Betafawaktin was bought and all of these different things. You know, 62 former slaves bought Betafawaktin with the money they saved up, and I think because of that history, I feel as though we as a people need to step forward and do better for what we know is best. So that is why I came forward, to continue in that progress. You know, there's a lot of things that you see around and things that you would like for your NDC to do better in your community, and one of those big things for me is solid waste management. You know, better facilities or better resources to deal with a solid waste management. You know, sometimes you have to wonder if the garbage truck is going to come on that specific day that they say that it's going to come. And then when the garbage truck doesn't come, you know, there's a mess in lots of areas. So that's one of my biggest thing I want to see change when I am elected as a council of the NDC. And also because I'm a youth, I want to see an establishment of a better resource, a better establishment of the playground that we have.
I am from Berbice, so I am taking part in the New Amsterdam Constituency 4, trying to be, or hoping to be elected as one of the councillors on the New Amsterdam Town Council.
So you're going as an independent candidate? As
an independent candidate, although I am affiliated with a political party, and United Guyana, the party which I'm the chair. We're not taking part, so we have decided that the persons who are interested in taking part, they can do as independent candidates. So myself, along with a grouping of mine, Guyanese United, going ahead, they're supporting me basically, but as an independent. We want to have independent candidates, new persons there who the people can trust and respect, and who can have conversations with both the government and major opposition. I think that is where I come in, that is where independent candidates come in, right? We can be able to bring people together, get them to work together, and this is something we haven't been seeing in Guyana for the longest while. And that is why I joined politics on the whole. I'm looking for shared governance. I'm looking to bring these teams working together.
I am the independent candidate for Constituency 9, that is Duwelem, Zeeburg on the west coast of Demerara, Region 3. And my symbol is a child holding an adult's hand. And the name of my independent organization is Village Voices. I found inefficiencies and open-ended questions, so I decided to throw my hat in the ring. The villagers keep complaining to me also. I said they are not getting the return on their tax investments. That is one of the reasons that propelled me to throw my hat in the ring. I'm not a politician. Don't want to be a politician more so than only this level.
Yeah.
I live in DLM. I want what is good for DLM and Zeebrugge. There's a limit to my political career. And that's why I decided to do that.
Okay.
Well, my sincerest apologies for what just happened, actually, because that regional update came from Guyana. I actually mentioned Grenada and gave details of the report, but that video of Guyana played. And just to let you know, based on the reports, individuals and representatives for independent groups contesting the local government elections in Guyana on June 12th have promised to provide much-needed improvements within their communities once elected. 3 of the candidates spoke to the newsroom on Saturday and said their services offered by the various municipalities to residents have been wanting for decades. By participating in the local polls, they aim to change this and push the government and opposition to work together in responding to various community issues. So that regional update actually coming out of Guyana. We'll get into Grenada a bit later on. But no time for that now, because I'm joined by Dr. Darlene Harris, pediatrician. As mentioned earlier, the prevalence of overweight babies, toddlers, and preschoolers, Trinidad and Tobago ranks 9th in the world. In fact, roughly 13.9% of 12,600 children under 5 years old are overweight here in TNT. The data, however, is a bit skewed. So we'll get into that conversation as I welcome Dr. Harris. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to be here because this is a very hot topic that we need to discuss. So let's get into it.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Harris, for joining me. Could we jump to accurate conclusions, knowing that approximately 42 countries did not submit data to the World Health Organization, and so it's very hard to actually say with confidence that TNT is indeed 9th in the world?
And then what I would say is that 42 countries out of the many that we have in this world, yes, it might be a little bit of a drop in the bucket. But what I would say is that we need to focus on the bigger picture where, alarmingly, globally, the rate of obesity amongst toddlers and preschoolers have increased drastically. And Trinidad is guilty of that, in that we are seeing greater number of children in the preschool, primary school age group who are overweight, leading into obesity. And that has been alarming across the nation amongst the pediatricians. So yes, we may have missed the top 10 if we include the other 42 nations, but we can't run from the fact that obesity and overweight children are on the rise.
So let's just actually get some definitions out of the way so that we understand. Childhood obesity versus a child being overweight. Precisely what is the difference? Is there a difference at all?
So first of all, when we talk about being overweight and obese, a lot of us focus on the weight of the child. But really and truly, what you have to look at is growth, which is both weight and height. And then you work out what is known as your body mass index. And that then is usually the indication for being overweight or obese. Is overweight and obesity two separate entities? Yes and no. What I would say is one is a precursor for the other. Overweight may be less of the two, but definitely one leads into the other. So what I tell parents, if you want to get scientific in terms of definitions, the World Health Organization has what we call growth charts. And these are based on what we call Z-scores, and we look at statistically standard deviations. So when we talk about being overweight is usually when you're 2 standard deviations above the norm, and obesity is when you are 3 standard deviations above the norm. So as I said earlier, one is more like a precursor to the other, where overweight is a precursor and can lead to obesity if we don't stop it in its tracks. So what I would say is that one is more of a precursor to the other. But yes, being overweight is the lesser of the two evils, if you want to look at it like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, another term that was actually often stated in the report was malnutrition. Precisely what is malnutrition, especially in the context of this conversation?
So malnutrition is the flip side, where overweight obesity is where you're above the top, and malnutrition is where you're below. So again, malnutrition is not based on weight. I think we will look at malnutrition, overweight, obesity just based on the weight of the child, but in truth and in fact, you have to look both at weight as well as height. So similarly, based on growth, it's below. So when we look at malnutrition, we look at what we call wasting. So you have what you call wasting and severe wasting, which similarly is where you have deviations below the norm.
Are vital pathways to good nutrition under threat to the extent that the possibilities of malnutrition becoming more and more prevalent, and obesity and a child being overweight is also becoming more and more prevalent? The statistics suggest yes, but vital pathways to nutrition, is that under threat?
I would say yes and no. I think a lot of it has to do with how life has evolved and how society has evolved. So the thing is, we have being malnourished as well as overweight and obesity. What I would say is the two ends of the spectrum. Yes, we have a large proportion of children within normal range, but we cannot leave those on the either ends behind. What I would say is that there's disparities in terms of lifestyle choices, in terms of what we eat, availability of food, and things like that. And if we could narrow the gap on those ends, I think we would have more of these children on either end of the spectrum approaching the normal ranges. And that is what we need to focus on as a society. How do we bring these children to the normal range so that everyone has their best shot? Because you have to remember that nutrition also affects their development. It affects their cognitive thinking. It affects how they grow, how they learn, how they perform in schools, both on either end, being malnourished as well as being overweight. So again, it's not just about what they eat, but it affects their whole life and moving forward, even into adulthood.
So then, what you're suggesting is that there needs to be an improvement in the practice and policy around nutrition.
Definitely, we need to look at it and find out where we're dropping the ball. Where can we fill those gaps? For example, what I would say with being overweight and obesity, it's lifestyle choices. Because before, I'm sure when you and I grew up, we were outside, we were playing, we were climbing trees, we were in the park. But now we have what we call the screen times, replacing those times. So where these children will be outside and having physical activity and exercising, we have less of that as a people now. And not just in Trinidad, but globally. And one of the things that they looked at, even during the COVID period, was the increasing and alarming rates of overweight and obesity amongst children. And when you looked at it, it's because they weren't outside, they weren't engaging in physical activity. So what I tell a lot of my parents who come through my practice, who are on either end, we need to make changes as a family. We cannot expect these children to eat a salad when we eat in KFC. So it's all about a mindset shift as well as lifestyle modifications on either end.
Okay, so that, what you just mentioned there is absolutely crucial. I'll tell you why. We're speaking about children, we're speaking about toddlers, we're speaking about preschoolers who, are helpless. They actually seek the guidance of the adults, obviously, in terms of daily living. So part of the problem that needs to be addressed is that nutrition education with parents and guardians.
Definitely. What I think is that we need to focus on giving these parents the right tools. Because what I would say is that children, usually infants, start eating solids at 6 months, right? And that is international guidelines. And I think a lot of these parents, when you talk to them, they're not sure, they're unsure in terms of what do we give them? How do we train our children to eat right? And I think that is where it comes in, where we need to focus on the parents, where we need to equip them with the tools to make the right choices. And I will say, being a parent myself, the right choices are difficult. It's easier to put some fries and chicken in an air fryer rather than, steaming some vegetables. But we need to let parents know of the ramifications of doing these things. Similarly, what I would say is that what we've noticed as pediatricians is that there's increasing intake of sugar among the preschool age group. So usually, like I tell my parents, you don't give juice. If you don't have juice in the house or we don't make the juice, they don't know what juice is, right? And then the thing about it is, as they get older and they go into primary school, they are exposed to certain things. But because they all they know would be water, they learn to say no and they learn to be okay with just water or one juice box a day. But it's about the choices we make for them, as well as the snack choices. We think that they can eat any and everything. But no, we need to make better choices in terms of what we pack in their lunch kits, I must applaud a lot of the preschools because they are trying, where their policies are no snacks, only fruits. And these are things that we need to implement across the board so that we can take back our children from these rates of overweight and obesity before they reach to out of control. Because what I'm saying is that if it is they are overweight and obese at 5, what's going to happen when they reach 10? And then it's very scary to even think what would happen when they reach 18 into adulthood. And if it is we continue with this trend, what we're going to find is that in 15, 20 years from now, we're going to have overweight and obese adults.
Yes.
Which is also on the rise, by the way. But it's something that we definitely need to look at. And it's what I tell people, it's an investment into the future. Because having healthy children now means we're going to have healthy adults. And the alarming increasing rates of hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, you're seeing these things in our kids at 10, at 12, and we need to take a step back and say, okay, how can we arrest this from continuing? And it starts at the home. It starts with us adults guiding these children along to make proper nutrition choices.
Dr. Harris, you just mentioned something that, has taken me aback a bit. Are we seeing the increased prevalence of diabetes and even heart disease in young adults, in children and young adults?
I don't have the actual statistical information, but yes, we actually are seeing a lot of children, presenting to us with small traces of hypertension. Even in diabetes, you're seeing early signs of diabetes among our adolescent population. And one of the key factors will be weight. A lot of them are on the heavier side. And, we tell parents that, okay, we need to bring it back now so that it does not progress into that. Because when we progress into that, you're adding other factors to the domain where now we have to treat diabetes. And prevention is always better than cure. So it's better we try to prevent the progress and make the necessary changes now rather than having to play catch up later on.
So then there's also a psychological component when we're speaking about nutrition education, because you just mentioned from a very young age, what you feed your child or those influences are what they would actually go with as they tend to grow. Yeah, so the psychological aspect, the psychological component of food as well, is a very important part of discussing one's lifestyle.
Definitely, I would say the psychological component is the key, because the thing about it is, children at this stage, the preschool stage, their minds are like sponge. They take in what we put in. So if it is, we emphasize, eat your fruits, eat your veggies, come, let's go outside and exercise, put down the tablet. They then inculcate that into their living. And you see it. You see the children who eat right in primary school. You see the ones who are involved in the extracurricular activities. It's because their parents stress that. So I think it's important that we try to inculcate it. And I tell a lot of parents, you have to make the shift as a family. You cannot expect these children to do it alone. And I think even for us, we all need that shift, because we all are guilty of it, and if that shift is made as a family and the family takes on better lifestyle choices, in the end, in the long run, it not only benefits that child, but it benefits everybody else in the household. And what I tell parents, I know the challenges. I've had a picky eater. I've had a child who only eat mac and cheese, right? And I know the frustration, because, parents will say, but doc, they don't eat it. But what I would say is that we sometimes have to think outside the box. And we have to work with the child. We have to be patient with them. They are at the stages where they're exploring their environment, and the soft drink looks more exciting than water, because just the thought of color alone blows their mind, right? So things like that. If it is, instead of water, you make a smoothie and you add the fruits and blend it up and let them be part and involved in it. I tell parents, make a popsicle out of fruits, and they're like, make a popsicle. But yeah, you blend up your fruits, you get a little moles, and you make a popsicle, and they will be so excited by that.
Dr. Harris,
and the other
no, it's very good what you're saying, and I could appreciate the advice. But there's another component of which we're probably, I wouldn't say ignoring, but forgetting the financial flexibility of households to provide healthy nutrition, not only for themselves, but for their children.
I totally agree with you on that, because they actually have research articles that says that one of the reasons why we're seeing the alarming rates of overweight and obese children is because the unhealthy foods are cheaper than the healthier ones. And how can we argue that, where the economic strains a lot of parents are placed on makes it challenging to eat healthy? But what I would say is two things. One, grow food, right? And it's easier said than done, because I will tell you, I don't have a green thumb. But it's an option where a lot of the things that we can grow ourselves, that are in our backyard, we can use, right? That is one. And then two, make the snacks. I remember when my daughter was 3, and again, picky eater, and again, I'm not a cook. But what I did is that Pinterest and Google, and we made plantain chips. She may not have eaten all, but, we used stuff that we had to make these choices. And yes, we're talking about economic strain, but water is free, right? Something as simple as drinking water is something that needs to be changed. It needs to be adjusted, where, believe it or not, a lot of our kids don't drink water. They will drink juice, they will drink soft drink. But if you don't buy it and you save that money and you give your kids water, it's money in your pocket at the end of the day.
No, I understand that, sir. But at the same time, Dr. Harris, when you go to the grocery and a large bag of snacks is $25, whilst a head of broccoli could be the same price, households are always going to say, all right, you know what, I can get multiple snacks for 2 children as compared to 1 head of broccoli. I agree with you, but that is something that I think we need to address as well. But
thanks to
just moving on now to the interview, the other part of it as well is parents tend to connect different foods to different moods. For example, if you do good, we're going to give you ice cream. If you do bad, you've got to sit down and eat all your vegetables. Is that too? I mean, I know we spoke about the psychological part of it, but connecting foods to moods, does that contribute to what we're discussing this morning?
But I think so. I think that is something that we do even as adults, where, when we're sad, or when it is, we are depressed, we sit down with a bowl of ice cream. We see it on the TV a lot, and simple, where we use food as rewards for things that are good, and we use the unhealthy foods as a reward. Whereas, we paint this negative picture around the healthy foods. And what I would say is that to change that will be a little difficult. But what we can do is change the mindset on healthy foods. So instead of seeing healthy foods as a negative thing, let's make healthy foods a positive thing. Let's not look at eating that bowl of broccoli as a oh my gosh task, but to be like, okay, cool, broccoli is not bad, it tastes good. And what I tell parents is all about presentation. You see, presentation to a child, very important. Children they tap into their senses, so they're very visual. So how you present the vegetable or how you present the fruit on the plate is important. People think it's not, but it actually is. And simple things like cutting up watermelon or cutting up apples in their favorite shapes, and all of these things make a difference and changes that mindset and makes food seem exciting, simple things as making a smoothie and, associating the smoothie as a drink that they're superhero drinks. All these things make a difference to a 5-year-old child,
Sitting together and having dinner with a family, sitting together as a family and having dinner could also, be a positive impact, and maybe something that we need to consider. We need to start doing more. I know you mentioned the screen time. Everybody looks forward to now just coming home and sitting in front of television and eating dinner.
Exactly. And of course, I always say we need to hold on to our traditions. I remember growing up, where Sunday lunch, we make a big spread on the table and we sit down as a family. And I tell a lot of my parents that as well, that besides what is on their plate, their habits, their eating habits are very important. And simple things as seeing your parents eating these things will be motivation for them, right? Putting down the tablet, putting down the phone, having a conversation while you're eating, also very important. And anything about it is that these children are extremely bright. This generation that we have coming up, their brains are moving faster than ours when we were their age. And explaining to them the reasons why also is important, because they now can take their health take their health as their own responsibility, and they will be like, okay, I want to be healthy, I want to grow up to be strong like daddy, so let me eat my broccoli, I want my skin to glow like mommy, so let me eat my fruits, so even that level of motivation and seeing us do it, but also explaining to them why is it important, is also a good idea. It's also helped them now to make proper choice.
Dr. Harris, we're more or less out of time, but I have to squeeze this question in very quickly. In terms of actually the healthcare system and the burden on the healthcare system, these statistics are quite alarming. What does it mean for the future of TNT's healthcare system? I know you mentioned earlier what it means for the adult population, but by extension, what does it mean for our healthcare system and the costs associated with this burden?
Well, what I would say is it's more work for us. But besides that, if we do not jump on this now, it's going to be a problem later on. The burden is going to increase. We're seeing our health centers and our clinics bursting at the seams with a lot of adults, as well as young adults, old adults with hypertension, the diabetes, the heart disease. And then besides just that, you don't want that these conditions lead to death, because heart disease, heart attack, high cholesterol, all these things are precursors for other deadly conditions, So we need to take a step back and see how can we stop this. But again, the burden is going to be great, because we're talking about thousands and thousands of persons going into this. And if we don't put an end to it now, this rate is going to increase.
Yeah, certainly. Dr. Harris, thank you very much for joining me on AM Prime this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. And as you mentioned, one of the biggest things we can do is back to basics.
Back to basics.
Back to basics.
Let's go back to the good old days,
I
and
hope
let's
so.
see.
I hope so. Dr. Harris, take care and keep well. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you so much, and you guys have a great day.
You too. Take care. Dr.
All
Darlene
my kids
Harris.
out there, have a great day.
Yes, kids. I hope you were listening this morning as you were getting ready for school. Well, listen to the doctor. You might not want to listen to mom and dad, but hopefully listen to the doctor. But Dr. Darlene Harris, pediatrician, the prevalence of overweight babies, toddlers, and preschoolers trying to make ranks 9th in the world. Again, just bear in mind that 42 countries did not submit data, but still, it's an alarming figure. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a break here on AM Prime. When we return, we'll welcome our second guest this morning. Stay tuned.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. News. Newsday. Independent and credible.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Well, the young people of Trinidad and Tobago are crying out for change. Now, this is one of the sentiments expressed by Pastor Clive Dottin. He's with us this morning via Zoom. Good morning, Pastor Dottin. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Well, thank you,
Pleasure.
sir. I start the conversation by, I'm quoting from you now, many young people want a better way. They want to be shown a better way. They want their hearts to be transformed. Could we say this with certainty when many a times in Trinidad and Tobago, when you read the news, many young people actually that are causing a lot of the negativity that we're seeing in society?
Well, I want to tell you that the majority of our young people want to have a better Trinidad and Tobago. Now, I want to go to the context, if you would allow me.
Sure.
On Sunday morning, I marched with the Aranguez Government Primary School. And by the way, the theme of their program was Family United Against Crime. And I have complimented the principal, all right, Nigel Clark, who is a new principal there with a lot of dynamism, and he's prepared to take on the criminal elements in the community there. And then on Monday morning, so that's Sunday, on Monday morning, I was at Sandy Grande SDA, Seventh-day Adventist Primary School, and the young people came out in their numbers. We got a 90-minute delay because, you know, Grande is the bathroom of Trinidad and Tobago. So it rained cats and dogs and tigers and leopards. But at 9, we had prayed and we are saying we experienced a miracle. The rain suddenly stopped and gave us a chance to go out on the road and communicate our message. Now, I want to tell you, when coming to young people, people call me the incurable optimist. That's when they're not calling me the gangster pastor. But we had a march, but I didn't know the background. The background was that school was hurting. And I'm telling you, those young people, I believe the school had 252, and 99% of them came out there on the march. They were dynamic. They had a chant, stop the violence right now, stop the violence right now. All right, and they chanted along the way. They were excited. Their parents came with them. So we had a march of over 300. This one school, okay, we stopped by Bates Memorial, which is a sister Seventh-day Adventist secondary school. And I did not know that it was, they had experienced murder firsthand. A first-year, 6-year-old female student was shot and killed. And I understand she was caught in the gang rivalry in a certain hotspot in the Grande area. Grande, like Valencia, have become hotspots now. And I could tell you that the majority of our young people want to have that change in the society. And as the Prime Minister said, Yes, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but okay, fair enough. But we're speaking about primary school students who are still very much innocent of what is taking place. It's very unfortunate that the 6-year-old succumbed being caught in the crossfire of gang warfare. However, the attitude and the mindsets of young people tend to change when they get into high school. And I mean, you see what's taking place in the high school. The second part of it, you've also mentioned denominational schools. We've had this conversation before. You tend to have more active PTAs in denominational schools. You tend to have a stronger approach, I suppose, to spirituality, and even a teacher's approach is different. So there are many complexities to this. But this is the thing. Young people, we also have to understand whom we're defining as young people. Because as a child enters secondary school, their mindset and their attitude tends to change. So the next part is, are young people willing to work towards a better Trinidad and Tobago?
I believe young people are willing to work, the majority of them. If I should give a non-scientific figure, all right, I believe over 70% of our young people are willing to work. But sometimes we, and that is the cry I was making in The Guardian, we don't allow them, we don't mobilize them and galvanize them. And worse than that, my friend, sometimes we don't set them the right example at all. And that is a major challenge. In a particular school in Port of Spain West, I will give you an example of that. A young girl came to me, she said, Pastor, what do I do? All right, what do I do? What? I said, what is your challenge? She said, Pastor, my father is a drug dealer and he wants me to pack the ganja, you know, in the home to get it distributed. Now, I've had complaints from women who are living with these guys or married to them. The same complaints. Of course, when you're adult, you have more authority to deal with the issue, but that's a major challenge. When we're talking about the drug trade here, we're talking about guns and weapons and things too, not just the drugs. But most of those guys are protecting their turf, and protection of turf means guns have to be involved. So that you have two perspectives here. One is you have the intergenerational disease, all right, and I'm calling drug trade that disease, that societal disease you have there. And then you have children who are under pressure from within the home when the adults are involved in negative stuff. And I have a group called Courage Unlimited, please, and we are dedicated to helping young people and children who experienced that. But let me tell you something, there's some young people growing up in situations where they almost have no choice. Now, let me go into a situation involving 2 secondary schools. Just one example, because I'm always in the schools. Here you have a principal in a part of the corridor, the western part of the corridor, calling another principal. Now, I did the graduation, let's say principal A, calling principal B. And I want to tell you the recruitment process for a lot of our young people, all right, it's heavy, because principal B told me principal A called him and told him they are gang members in his school who are involved in the drug trade. So I asked him, you sure? He says, yes, he called me. And he told me the recruiter is in his school. The recruiter in school A, principal A, school A, all right, is recruiting students not too far away in another secondary school. So I asked him, did principal A tell you who is involved on the outside? Because I'm sure, recruiter A wouldn't have enough money to recruit and to distribute the drugs. He will have to get it from somewhere. He said, yes, there's a community, a gang leader, a drug dealer around principal school A. And he's the one that has encouraged this young boy in school A to recruit people in school B. Mm-hmm. And the principal Timothy Pastor, I was extremely shocked. So what I want to show you is that it's not the young people alone. I was at the university 3 years ago when they brought a Latin American scholar who did research on young people in crime. And he didn't say a word about the godfathers of the drug trade. The guys who are bringing in, for example, look at that seizure they had with $234 million worth of cocaine. I don't think that was a young person who brought in that. And it had to be a filthy rich guy who brought in that. And I believe the guy who they held, all right? I mean, he's not the real guy.
Okay, but
So
Pastor
we have
Dawson,
this-
if young people are crying out for change, why is it that more and more... I know you mentioned the influences within the household. I understand that. I agree.
Yes.
But part of change, this is why I asked if young people are willing to work towards this change, because part of it is them having to break that culture and that mindset and know, listen, this is wrong, I shouldn't get involved, I shouldn't have to do this. I don't want to be a part of this. So why is it that we're still seeing young people, like you just gave an example within a high school setting, getting involved in this nonsense?
Well, let me tell you something. You have to understand with young people, there's something called peer pressure. And I mean, psychologists, clinical psychologists and educational psychologists have dealt with this for a long while. So the thing is that some young people, and the major problem here is the breakdown in the home. I don't want you to forget that. And of course, you have the issue of single parenting, exactly. So that you have the peer pressure from their peers, you have the social media, don't forget that. And then you have a breakdown in the home. So a lot of them are getting, the pressure from a triangulation of forces, all right? So that you have to understand that is what is going on. But my experience has been, and then there are a lot of young adults, all right, and even some in authority who have given up on young people. And that is something we have to watch so that, and of course, with the gang and drug trades, I must tell you, it is not easy for some people to contemplate, to visualize getting involved because of the dangers involved. Love to experiment. The adolescent culture is a culture of experimentation. And once you get involved in that drug thing and start to use it, and the younger you start to use it, for example, dealing with, they're taking drugs now. The harder it is for them to break free. It takes the power of God. It takes an informed community. It takes solid parents. It takes preachers and social workers, who are wise in how they relate to them. So look at the gang violence in schools now, to be honest with you. You have a school, let's say, Tranquility, for example, just to mention a school, not to demonize them. But you could have, out of that, how much run they have, about 700 kids there? You could have about 40 out of that 700 involved in the violence, okay? So that you may have slightly more, because I have been to that school with it, and I compliment the Love Until Foundation for their intervention in terms of bullying. So we spend some time in that school, for example. And generally, it's about 40 to 50 young people involved in this stupidness, if you understand where I'm coming from. So it takes an informed principal and teachers and staff and parents. And you mentioned the PTA. I have to make a call now because when we talk about PTAs, many of them are not functional. Some have started to get functional now because they see what is taking place. But if you have a PTA where parents are not showing interest, then that PTA refuses, to become an agent of change. And we have got to ask, and you raise a relevant point, for more PTAs to be involved. And then you want a PTA, it's parent teachers. You don't want parents alone. You want parents and teachers. You don't want teachers alone. You want parents to come out. You want both of them to come out. Now is the time for us to capitalize on a wave that I am seeing in the society, a small wave, a tiny wave, but it will grow if we have the commitment, if we have the spirit of sacrifice to move forward and use the positive young people as an agent of change to impact upon, use peer pressure, positive peer pressure to impact upon the other
Pastor
young.
Dawson, listen, I agree. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying because I too am an optimist. But this attitude of sacrifice does not necessarily exist in society. I think we've become a very greedy society that are not a very selfish society where sacrifice is not part of our everyday living. However, on the flip side, with everything that you've just mentioned, is it that the only leaders we may be hearing about tomorrow in Trinidad and Tobago, with everything that you just mentioned, if we do not act as a society, as a whole, The only leaders we could look forward to are gang leaders.
I am telling you, I want to be honest with you. We're going to keep losing young people, all right, if we do not act and act seriously. You're quite right. We have to act, and we always have to say it to those in authority. We have to act now. There's a role, I agree, there's a role for each group to play: the home, the church, the school, business organizations, the police, the law, etc., etc. But I want to emphasize on your program today, the urgency requires that all of us have to come together. Yes, it's a materialistic, greedy society and selfish society, so that the issue of sacrifice, apart from what I mentioned here, that the drug trade and the gang business, involves money. But apart from that, we have got to understand, and I think some of us are in denial. I listened to the 95.5 yesterday evening on the afternoon drive show, and I've listened to more than one show and more than one station. And a lot of young people, a lot of folks are saying, adults are saying, that's not our business. We are not going to get involved. I'm saying about my child, okay? Now, when you have that attitude, and by the way, this is a blatantly corrupt society, it's not another Tron corrupt in this society. They're on the other end of the pole, okay? But a lot of folks in authority think, corruption and greed must be the way to go for them to get ahead in this society. And you have a lot of folks who are supposed to be role models, and they're setting a horrible example to the young people.
So then, Pastor Dawson,
and once they get with it.
Is it that we are protecting the corrupts from the just rather than the just from the corrupts?
Correct. You're correct. That is where the society has reached. And we have to acknowledge that. Okay? And I tell folks, I hear it on the radio all the time, them bad ones are going to the young people, but I'm saying to you, the real monsters in our society are those who are owning and managing. The IADB says that our underground economy is equivalent to a national budget, 1/3 of the gross domestic product. All right, and that you have big people and people who have the resources and the capital to fuel all these, the negative trade, the gambling, the drug trade, the importation of guns, because we don't manufacture guns here. So they are allowed to come here by senior people too. So that I am saying that is where we are. We have to aim to break the back of the corruption racket, because the young people watching us too, and they know that a lot of us talking and we are just being blatant hypocrites. So we have got to mobilize the genuine people, and by the grace of God, hope for and expect change.
All right, no, a couple of things before you go, Pastor Dawson.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you previously mentioned that we all have to come together, all households, the community, the businesses, the leaders. But you've also said, we need spirituality as well, and the Pentecostals, the Catholics, the Hindus, the Muslims, all groups need to come together and display unprecedented levels of courage. I'm quoting from you.
Right.
But is that diversity and pluralism seen or perceived to be weakness? Is that level of pluralism and diversity also what is creating a level of division, because we as a society are simply not accepting of it?
Well, I believe, my friend, you have hit the nail on the head. Diversity is seen as weakness by people, and then there are religious groups who want to go alone. They feel they alone could manage the society and produce the change. And of course, there's a selfishness that you see even in religion, and this selfishness is, I want to get the credit. Now, they don't say that. They could talk plurality in front of the cameras and on the radio, but in their hearts, they don't really feel that is the way to go. They feel their group could, that would not stand to benefit in coming together. We will merge into one and lose our identity. And that is another false conception, because you could come together and still maintain your identity. All right? What you have to do is practice, respect for the conviction of others. And that calls for a whole reframing of perception in this society. Because even in terms of religion, for example, all right, well, don't talk about the political parties. They're the authors of divisiveness in the society. And as Max Richards had said, the late Max Richards, instead of preparing for the next generation, they're preparing for the next election, when they should be preparing for the next generation. And I call upon the Minister of Youth and National Service, let's get the national service going, all right? Do what you have to do your consultation, but it's years now. We have to get that national service. I see that as definitely necessary for the negative youths and the youths engaged, and being recruited, faster than Usain Bolt could run the 100 meters. That is important. So I want to mention that. You're correct. We are protecting the corrupt from the just rather than just from the corrupt. And that's the reason why some of the just don't want to get involved. Because, for example, in terms of some law enforcement officers, they're aware of what they're involved in. And that is so serious and so sad and so traumatic. I want to tell you this. I rescued a girl, and her boyfriend was protected. She regretted very much, a young girl, that she had gotten involved with this drug dealer. And the drug dealer was protected by a police and a soldier. I hate to tell these stories, but this is a reality that points to where you are coming from and what you are saying and seeing. So therefore, we have to work so much harder, and it appears to be impossible. But we still have to be like yourself, incurable optimists in moving the nation forward and trying to rescue as many young people as we could rescue, and families too.
Pastor Clive Dawson, thank you very much for joining me on the program this morning.
God bless.
Appreciate your time, sir, and appreciate all the work that you're doing. That's
Thank you.
That's one step in the positive direction. Keep well, sir. All the best.
God bless. Yeah. God bless.
Children are crying out for change here in Trinidad and Tobago. It takes a lot of work. It takes the society. It takes the community. Sacrifice and commitment. Not necessarily two of the things that we are practicing currently, but it's a paradigm shift that we must adopt and something that we need to practice if we are to save sweet TNT. TNT will always be there, but not necessarily sweet TNT. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on AM Prime. When we return, we get into our final conversation.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Force's flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Site, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., Only on WESN, Content Capital.
Welcome back to AM Prime, and thank you for staying with us this morning. We now get into a conversation of a matter that I won't say is developing. It's developed. It can't go any further because those alleged individuals in an audio clip that was leaked and circulating on social media last week, Tuesday, and that is senior members of the THA have remained silent up until this morning. So I'm joined now by the chairman of the Tobago Civil Net, Mr. Rodney Piggott. He's joining us this morning to speak about this situation in Tobago, which has everybody baffled. Good morning, Mr. Piggott.
Good morning, Keaton, to the wesn staff, and certainly the listeners and viewers of your program.
Well, Mr. Piggott, thank you for joining me. They say that silence is golden, and when politicians are silent, sometimes it's for good reason. But this is rather frustrating, what is taking place in Tobago, and more frustrating because there is no explanation. There's, as far as we're aware, there's no ongoing court case where they can't comment on anything. You've suggested, the Tobago Civil Net has suggested, that an explanation is owed to the people of Tobago. Why the argument for the THA owing an explanation?
Absolutely, Keaton, and I like the way you began that by saying silence is golden. That's a very popular saying. I did a Facebook post most recently pointing to that issue, but not pointing it out in my post. And I simply wrote that silence is golden, but there are times when silence is rotten. And this is one of those times, Keaton, where silence is definitely rotten, right? It's not golden at this time. And that is principally because the people of Tobago particularly, Trinidad, yes, but in particular, the people of Tobago are woefully divided on the issue. Not only are they divided because of party politics, which has already divided our nation, but this particular issue now is causing more fissures in our societies, dividing us even further. Some people are practicing what's called cognitive dissonance in order to deal with it, and that's very harmful. So there's a lot of stress that has been unleashed on this small Tobago populace, given all of the stresses that have already been unleashed on us that have not been resolved. Remember, 2021, we came through 2 elections. We came through a 6-6 tie that was not resolved according to the way the people would have liked it to be resolved. We had yet another election where there was a 14-1, and then we had the Duke fiasco, and then the 13 of them walking away from the party. And all of these things are stress. So if you look at the Tobago people, or the Tobago as being a body, like your personal body, what stress does to your personal body, it ravages your cells. It causes disease. It lowers your immunity system. If Tobago can be viewed as a body, then that very same stress is also ravaging our Tobago body. Mm-hmm. And that's what our leaders have to be mindful of. What is this doing to my people?
Do you
and when
think
they
so?
don't think of the people first, then we have problems.
Then I'll get to that in a moment, but you mentioned that Tobago is divided over this particular issue. I mean, the silence has created further division, but there will always be split political opinions. There will always be a split as to who is right and who is wrong. It happens every single day. So how could we say for certain that this is really causing greater division in Tobago?
Because we're hearing it as CivilNet members, and particularly as chair, we don't just keep our conversations amongst the CivilNet members. We talk to the people. We're on Facebook. I, as an individual, I'm on Facebook. I listen to what people are saying on Facebook. I talk to people in the marketplace. On this particular issue, I stood in the marketplace for about a good 45 minutes after I had done my shopping and held serious conversations with people in the marketplace around this very issue itself. Talk to people in the malls where you go to buy food and so forth and so forth. So when you listen to what the people are saying and you scour Facebook and you hear the commentaries, you listen to the talk shows, the morning talk shows like this one, and all the various commentaries, what you're hearing is a pull and a tug by the people. You have people, and we pointed it out in our press release, where we talk about Tobago being grossly divided. We talk about those people who are seemingly, celebrating, exuberant over this issue because they are opposed to these executives. They may be from opposing parties that did not get into office. There may be people that have personal issues against certain of these executive members. So this particular issue to them, they see this as an opportunity to tear these people down. So they're in celebratory move, right? They're like, yes, we get them against the ropes now, get them to resign, and they're celebrating. Now, the people who are in support of them now, they are heartbroken and disappointed. You hear it. They're heartbroken and disappointed. As I mentioned, some are practicing what you call cognitive dissonance, is even though it's right in front of their face, they're trying to look away from it and look past it. You hear people making comments such as, well, let's move on from this. We're spending too much time on this. These are the same people particularly, and again, I'm on Facebook, the same people who, when the Duke and Kizelle Jackson issue, that fast food, empty calorie issue took place and blew up the media, and the media went into a feeding frenzy on it, interviewing these two people back and forth. These same people couldn't get enough of that. You see? But now, let's move past this issue. So you have those people. You have the people, as I said, who are just simply disappointed and heartbroken because these are the people that we support. And look at what we're hearing, but we don't want to hear what we're hearing. And then you have the people who want to hold on to, and they're part of that also, that this is artificial intelligence. They've already made up their minds. No sort of authentication has been done. And in order to detect artificial intelligence on recording and videos and so forth and so on, you have to pass that through a particular program that is able to detect the finite skips and the finite places where you've copied and pasted and merged two different conversations and things of this nature, and your ears will not pick it up. Your human ears will not pick it up. This was called a deep fake. Your human eyes will not detect it, but this particular computer program will detect it. So it's able to go frame by frame and inside the frame and things of that nature. So without that being done, there are people already saying this is artificial intelligence. This is something that was doctored and copied into this nature. So this is the division that is caused. And so within the space itself, you have all these people coming from all these various directions. And what nobody is doing is saying, how is this impacting Tobago?
Okay,
how
so
is the
Mr.
world
Piggott,
looking at Tobago?
it's often advised, no politician should rush to make a statement. But at the same time, it's been a week. Has the Chief Secretary missed an opportunity to defend himself and his administration from such serious allegations?
Well, more so, and you're absolutely correct. No one wants to rush to make a statement, especially if you are an individual, a private member, right? And if you know you're wrong, you don't want to rush out there and incriminate yourself, right? Take me through the court process and prove that I'm wrong, right? So you want to remain in that I'm innocent until proven guilty. And if you're not able to bring the evidence to show that I'm guilty, I am not going to volunteer that evidence to you. That's a private citizen. That's your right there. But you're not a private citizen now. You're a public official. And so what you have to think about mostly in that position is the office itself. You have to protect the integrity of the office. This is why you see people like Bill Clinton, when he got caught up with the Monica Lewinsky scandal. It was her word against his. He could have stood his ground, but he knew that the office of the president must be protected. And simply because this mud, this very salacious and loud mud was thrown against the office of the presidency, and knowing that he was particularly guilty of something, what did he do? He stepped down to protect the office. You have to protect the integrity of the office because people will come, people will go, but that office must remain intact for the future.
Mr. Piggott, I apologize for laughing, but the reason being is because many a times we don't necessarily, we speak about the integrity of the office, yet we do not necessarily elect individuals or officials whom have integrity to the office. So it's kind of ironic, isn't it? But the next part of it is that using public funds for private gains is nothing new to our political landscape. Why is this, really the biggest talking point coming from Tobago within the last week?
Well, again, it's leaked audio, right? So it's something that just blindsided the people. And the implications of the audio is that this chief secretary that has stood on certain moral grounds, coming from his religious background, stood on certain moral grounds, they campaigned on certain virtues. We're going to fix it. We're going to put people before politics. We're going to put Tobago first. We're not going to do what has been done for the last 21 years. So all of those pronouncements now, and then this comes, right? So this comes as something that runs counter to everything that you have been saying, you see. So this is where, and again, those forces that that may see this as a moment to celebrate, those forces that have been coming at this executive body from the word go, from the minute they touched down in the Tobago House of Assembly and got sworn in, they have not let up. They have been coming at them ever since because that's the nature of party politics. It's dangerous and divisive. So said George Washington since 1791. So they have been living up to that, coming at these persons. So now they have been amplifying this issue, you see. So the very same propaganda that is being discussed on the audio, you have to know, and this is why CivilNet took the opportunity to point out in our press release the study done by the Oxford University group on social media manipulation by political parties and so forth, that pointed out that this thing is so widespread. In over 81 countries that they surveyed, they said this thing is at a level where it is threatening to destroy democracies. You have to know that everyone is doing it. They're all doing it. And the danger of it is that the public is being deceived. Because now what it appears to be, when you use fake profiles, you give one person, may have 3 or 4, sometimes up to 10 profiles. So you may have a room, or you may have 20 persons spread around your constituency, making it seem as though there's 100 people that is actually in agreement with this or is actually opposed to this issue, when it's only 20 people typing a message that was given to them by the political party to type. They themselves personally may not even believe in the message that they're typing.
I know that
is the insidious nature of propaganda.
I know that we focused mostly on Chief Secretary Foley Augustine. The other individual alleged to be heard in the voice clip, and I keep using that term alleged because, for the sake of libel, it is Zarisha Hackett. But has the Chief Secretary done anything at all to distinguish himself from predecessors, from individuals whom he has spoken against, from members and officials whom he campaigned against? Has he done anything to distinguish himself from these individuals, or has he just fallen into the same old, same old?
And that's a very good question, Keaton, and you're absolutely correct. The word alleged is the word. I'm sure you've read our press release, and you'll see that that's the word that CivilNet chooses to use in conjunction with the audio leak. So we're not just saying audio leak, we're saying alleged audio leak, leaving room for the possibility that it is not necessarily a leak, but something that was simply composed and put out there. As far as the distancing is concerned, this is something that I personally, I messaged the Chief Secretary very, very early on when he took office. I think it was the first plenary sitting, if I'm not mistaken, but his first message before the people, where he chose in his message to step on the head of those who had lost the election, primarily the PNM party. And he chose that moment as if you're in a fight and you knock your opponent down and you're now gloating, you're standing over them and you're pressing them down with your foot and matching their face into the mud, gloating. And it was that kind of message that he sent. And I was very much opposed to that. I messaged him immediately. No, you dropped the ball there. This was your opportunity to go into that office and change the tone of politics in Tobago, which could possibly infect Trinidad politics. As you know, Trinidad politics is done. That war they have going on between UNC and PNM, if that doesn't change, it's going to level the whole place. But I told him, this was your opportunity, and you still have an opportunity to change the narrative, change the tone. This is where you could have embraced them and say, look, okay, we ran a good race, we were opponents during the campaign over. The Tobago House of Assembly is designed to not have oppositional forces. Let us work together for the benefit of Tobago. He could have done that. And if he had done that, he would have now put himself in a position that if they now start attacking him, the people would have seen, but why attack? The man is stretching out an olive branch to you. He's stretching out a hand of peace and saying, let us all work together. He's not putting you down. Why are you putting him down? But because he attacked them, he now opened the door for them to level unrelenting attacks against him justifiably.
Mr. Piggott.
And so you're absolutely correct. He did not change the tone, and he has not changed the tone, and he must change the tone of politics in Tobago, thinking of Tobago, healing Tobago, not just himself and his character and his image and, but Tobago's image, Tobago's divisiveness.
Mr. Piggott, 1 minute to answer this question. Does this now further solidify the argument put forward that the THA administration simply has no clue? They don't even have their own mandate. They don't know what to do or how to go about this situation.
I don't know the answer to that. That's not a question that CivilNet can answer. I think those are valid opinions of others, and those who have been in the political sphere for years and may have more data with which to form such an opinion. CivilNet as a body we formed ourselves in 2020. We registered in 2021. We simply don't have the data to make that kind of informed opinion on that matter. We don't know what's going on inside of this executive body, because one thing we have recognized is that the level of transparency that should be there simply is not there. So it gives us now, we don't have that window into them. We can only speak, if we were to make a pronouncement like that, it would be more reactive. It would be more of a reactive response than an informed, proactive response that others who have more data, who have more political experience. Remember, CivilNet is not a political organization. We are a civil organization looking to raise the awareness of Tobago in all areas of people activity, in which politics is but one of those activities. Currently, we're working assiduously in areas of health. We've launched our holistic health awareness campaign. That is going very well. We've had 3 episodes thus far. We're looking for our 4th episode in June, which will be on mental health. We have our education committee that is working very assiduously. And we want people in Tobago to know that we need you. We need volunteers. We need people that are concerned about Tobago and Tobago first to join us. Feel free to contact me at 323-1958 or simply email tobagocivilnet@gmail.com.
Mr. Pickett, thank you very much for your time this morning, sir, and wishing you all the best. Keep well.
Thank you, Keaton, and thank you to the wesn crew.
Take care. All the best. That was Mr. Rodney Pickett, chairman of the Tobago CivilNet. A call for the Taysha executive to break its silence following a voice clip that was leaked and circulated on social media since last Tuesday. It's now been over a week, and, well, as I said, silence is golden, but in this case, as Mr. Pickett mentioned, it's muddy. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for AM Prime this morning. Thank you for joining me for this edition. It's always a pleasure having you to join me to start my day, essentially, and it's always an honor on my part that you choose to start your day with me. And your day ahead may be a good one, a productive one. May we work hard towards making Transbago a bit sweeter. Yeah, we can. It's really, really up to us. Go back to that interview at Pastor Clive Doughton and take his message, and it certainly will help you throughout your day. But until tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, I'm Keaton Shaw. This is AM Prime.